and welcome to episode 23 of Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors, and I am your host, Alba Arango. In today's episode, I want to talk about my favorite topic, which is food. But I want to talk about food as character development. And I know that sounds really random, but using food for character development is actually a super cool way to introduce your readers to aspects of your character that maybe they wouldn't have known unless you included things about food. So with no further ado, let's get down to it. Let's talk food. Alrighty then, today's episode will be in two parts as always. In part one, I want to talk about your main character and food. And this is actually going to be good if you're writing memoir as well. It may not be quite as applicable if you're writing like a how to decorate the inside of your home book. But if you are writing memoir or any kind of fiction, definitely want to talk about how to incorporate food when developing your main character. And then in part two, I want to talk about how your main character or your main characters observe others with food. And I know this sounds really, really weird, but when you hear what I'm talking about, it's going to make sense and a super cool way to add more character development to your characters. So let's get down to it. Part one, your main character and food. First of all, I do think you should know what kind of foods does your main character like and dislike, because that could play into different scenes throughout your book. And don't forget things like alcohol as well. If you're writing a book that includes over 21 characters, what's their favorite drink of choice? Is it beer? Is it wine? Is it a margarita? Is it a, martini shaken and not stirred? But this is one of those things that could actually be strung throughout your book. And if you have a series, that could be strung throughout your series. And it's also a great way to let your readers know how well do other characters know your main characters. I mean, you've all seen it in movies and stuff where you have the ex-boyfriend and, it's time to order a drink and the ex-boyfriend's like, oh, she likes this drink. And the new boyfriend's kind of like, and that's kind of a cool way to let them know, your readers know, how well these other characters know your main character as well. So for me, alcohol is not part of my books because I write for, middle grade, which is 9 to 12-year-olds. But I definitely have one character named Matt who absolutely loves food. And that is a running joke throughout every one of the previous 7 books. And now today, October 1st, it's part of Book 8 as well. Yay, it's October 1st. That means my new book, The Ruby Diamond, is now available for purchase everywhere. So be sure to check the link in the description to check out my newest book, The Ruby Diamond, and you can see for yourself how Matt and food are such a big part of that character. In fact, they're on a cruise, so talk about food everywhere. But anyways, back to my thing. There's a lot of ways to incorporate food into your story, and I'm going to give you one specific example from my personal life. And by the way, if you have personal stories, they're always great to kind of incorporate a version of them into your books as well, because you know exactly how this character feels about the situation. So I'm going to give you my personal story. I do not like seafood. That includes sushi. I know. That's crazy. You don't like sushi, Alba? What? And the answer is, yeah, I really don't like sushi. I don't like seafood at all. So that's, a part of me personally, who I am. And if I was a character in your book, that would be a part of it too. But I want to give you 2 different scenarios that involve sushi and me. So here we go. About, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that ago, I was seeing this guy and we had just started seeing each other and he invited me to his house for dinner. And I was like, that's going to be great. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, do you like sushi? And I was like, oh, no, actually, I don't like seafood at all. And he's like, oh, okay, well, no, then no sushi. What about Thai food or Italian food? And I was like, yeah, anything else. I just don't, as long as there's no seafood in it. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, of course. That showed me then that he was, willing to compromise. He understood what I was saying. I didn't like it. And he was willing to adapt, his original thinking, which was to have sushi with me. And that I was happy with that. I mean, that's a sign of someone who's willing to compromise, who's kind of a good person in that way. Now I'm going to fast forward to another very similar situation in which I was seeing a different guy, and he invited me over to his house for dinner, and he said, it's so strange, but why is sushi such a thing? Anyways, he was like, is sushi okay? And I was like, oh, same thing. I don't really like seafood at all. I don't really want sushi. I don't really like sushi, I said. I don't like seafood at all. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we could have pizza, even though I haven't had it in years. And his whole tone was like, I can't believe you don't like sushi. And that's what I had planned to do. And me being me, this nice girl, I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it again. I mean, I didn't really like it the first time, but, maybe different sushi is different. I mean, I don't like seafood, but, maybe this one will be good. He's like, oh, yeah, there you go. Be adventurous. And sure enough, he invited me over and we had sushi, which, again, I did not like because I don't like seafood. And that told me a lot about him. And looking back, I should have noticed it probably sooner, but he was controlling. He was self-serving. And the fact that I didn't like sushi meant he wasn't going to change his plans. If I was willing to be accommodating, then that was okay with him. And that's a big reflection of what he's like. And that is a great opportunity for you writing about your main character. Do they see this red flag or do they not? Chances are, if they're like me, they do not. But maybe in your book, you could have, the best friend that's like, wait, I thought you didn't like sushi. Oh, I don't. And he still had sushi. Maybe your best friend could be like, hey, red flag, that's a warning. He's not willing to compromise. He's controlling. And then, of course, your character, if they're like me, is going to ignore that and find out the hard way anyways. But that is a great way to introduce other characters as well, and your main character too. So utilizing food to kind of develop your character is a great way to do it. And then, of course, you can even have at the end of the book, your character reflecting back and being like, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I notice that? And then maybe having the new character interest, be more accommodating with the non-sushi thing. Anyways, but these are ways that you can incorporate food as a form of character development in your book. Now, before we get to part 2 and how your character observes other characters in food, it's time for the crazy law / writing prompt. And if you're new to the show, every week I give you a writing challenge. It is a crazy law, a law that was actually a real law in history. And the challenge is to write a short story based on that law. Sort of a way to, flex those writing muscles. So here we go. This week's crazy law / writing prompt. In Amarillo, Texas, it is against the law to take a bath on the main street during banking hours. Now, I seriously have no idea why that was ever even a law, but you get to use your crazy and wild imagination and come up with a story about that. Just for fun, flex those writing muscles, and there you go. All right, let's move on to part 2. Your character's observance of other characters and food. Now that sounds like really kind of like a weird thing, but let me give you a couple of scenarios. So here's one. You're at a restaurant, your main character's at a restaurant. Maybe they're there with a group of colleagues and they're all there. Maybe your character is new to this firm or new to the work and these characters are all there. And the boss or the supervisor is like, hey, you guys, you know what? You guys did so good today. Lunch is on me. Come on, let's get some food. And you start looking at the way people are ordering food and you see this woman and she's kind of like, and you know her, she loves steak, but the steak on the menu, it's like $80 and she orders chicken, which is like 35. And she was probably raised that, you are courteous. If someone's buying you dinner, you don't order the most expensive thing. You order something that's less expensive because you're being polite and kind. They're buying you dinner. So out of respect, you buy something, you order something that's a little less pricey. And then, the girl sitting next to him orders not just steak, filet mignon. And the most expensive steak on the menu, it's like $120. And you, as a person then observing these two characters, your main character can already tell the difference in personalities of these two women. Could be the way they were raised, could be just the way they are internally. We don't know yet, but maybe your main character is already starting to form some ideas about them just based on the way they ordered in the restaurant. And speaking of restaurants, and you all know this is true, if you're really good friends with someone, or if you're there with a couple that maybe you are there with and the couple's there, if they're sharing food off their plates, if they're, not even thinking about it, just doing it, they've been together for a long time and they know each other really, really well. And that's kind of a cool way to incorporate other characters' relationships into the story as well. I mean, if they've known each other for a long time and the guy still can't believe his wife doesn't like whatever type of food, how long have they been together? How well does he know his wife? I don't know. There are ways you can incorporate character development when your main character is at a restaurant and observing people and they're eating at a restaurant. And I will give you just one more thing. Sharing food. It's kind of a different thing. Some people are very, very, you don't, share food off their plates. Some people do. What if you're walking with a friend who's eating chips? Do they offer you chips? Is that just their personality, or do they not offer chips? What if you're with the character and the character says, "Hey, can I have some of that?" What does that say about that character? What does your character think about what they said? And that's kind of a way you, again, can incorporate character development along with food. And I just have one last little thing. If your character is standing in line at Starbucks, or maybe not Starbucks, a generic coffee shop, and the person they're with, they're new, and they order, a double skim oatmeal, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. I mean, automatically your character knows this person is health conscious. Maybe they have allergies or something like that. Now, if your character is with someone who is like me and they order a, large white chocolate mocha with extra whipped cream and a drizzle of caramel, then you're going to know, oh yeah, not only is this person not health conscious, but clearly they don't care about what they put into their body. And then you would be right, because that would be me. So these are just the simple ways that you can kind of incorporate food and your character's observance of other people and their food. Well, I hope this gives you food for thought. I know, I am so ridiculously corny, but I do have a new episode every Wednesday. Don't forget, today is October 1st. The book 8 of the Decoders, The Ruby Diamond, is for sale today. I will put a link to that in the description, so please check it out. And until next week, be safe, and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful beginning of October.